When you book a Best Western hotel, you get all the great stuff you'd expect from a big brand, plus the feel-good glow of knowing every booking supports proudly independent hotels. Like Roger Thorpe Manor in Yorkshire, run by the Metcalfe family. So with 290 unique places to stay, you're not just booking, you're booking good. Best Western. Booking good.
Welcome to Headingley Stadium for this, the third episode of Box 2, sponsored by Best Western Hotels GB, supporting local, proudly independent hotels. I'm joined this week, and I'm really excited as well to be joined by former teammate, good old friend, and ex-Leeds Rhinos player, Willie Poching, with an air of sadness as well, because after 25 years, a quarter of a century, I believe, decided to go home. You're going back to New Zealand.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for us to go back and restart, I suppose. After 25 years, as you say, of being here and taken a lot from the country, given a little bit, taken a lot. Decided to go back, and a few things have happened, Jonesy, over the last year at home, and family things, and we've reflected on the birthdays, the births, the weddings, and the people that have come and gone in our family that we know but don't know, we want to get to know. So to go home and meet some of that and be home for some of that. And I've got some young nieces and nephews that are coming through playing rugby league, and I've never seen them play. I'd like to go back and watch some of that and enjoy some of that with the family. But that's been the big pull, to go back, family. And whilst I say we're going to see family, we're leaving family here too. My boys are going to stay here. They're embedded and deeply entrenched in this part of the world, Wakefield especially, and they're going to stay behind to start with, live in our house, and they're of an age now where they can start to find their feet in life and make their own way, but rather than leave them, Mum and Dad's running away.
I told Emma this morning when we went out for a run, she went, oh no, because obviously Alan LTT miss him. They stay in touch obviously on Facebook, social media. I'd love to see Brent Webb for 5 minutes and have a chat with him. Same with you, so we'll have to stay in touch, mate. But I want to talk a little bit about some of your highlights a little bit later on, and Wakefield, as you mentioned there. But listen, let's go back. St Helens, big result for the Leeds Rhinos last week. I don't think anybody really expected it. And if Rugby League was like a game of conkers or like boxing, we'd be the world champions right now, really. I don't think anybody expected it. But what were your thoughts on the game?
Outstanding performance, and a great show of resilience and patience to stay in the game. And it ebbed and flowed, and the scoreboard ebbed and flowed. And to go to St Helens on such a big night for that club, to celebrate what they did at Penrith, which was a fantastic feat for our game, let alone that club. But for the club to go across there, and I've got to say a little story, and I feel a bit rude that it happened, and that they were right. I bumped into Cameron Smith and Reece Martin the weekend before, and we're just talking about it, and I said to him, "Man, how you doing?" It was the night after they'd just lost a Hull here, and said, "Who you got next week?" And Reece said St Helens, and I must have put on a look of, "Oh, have you?" And Reece,
all the best,
rightly so, said to me, "What's that look about?" And whether they got some motivation out of that, great on them for going out and getting the result that they did, and turning that performance around. Especially 2 weeks prior, the performance against Warrington was way below what they would have expected and what they wanted. So the turnaround in such a short space of time, fantastic, and well done to Rowan Smith and the boys.
Yeah, Rowan, he likes to think a little bit out of the box and orthodox at times, but been shifting the ball really well. I think Ash Hanley's tries a really good example of that. He talked about resilience, and it's pretty difficult to get in a war of attrition with St Helens, so you've got to do things a little bit different. Is that how you think teams will undo St Helens maybe this year?
Unless you're prepared to stay in the grind and play that power game, and you've got a physical side that can go with them for those long periods, I think you do. You've got to chance your arm a little bit, be prepared to have an error or two and back it up with some steely defence for long periods, which the team did. And if you're prepared to stay in the grind and not get too impatient, if you get behind a little bit on the scoreboard and you can stay with it and play the 80 minutes, you're a chance. There was a great drop goal from Blake Austin, of course, to polish the game off and put the game away for the Leeds boys. But Yeah, I like the teams that are playing football, the Salford style, and what Leeds are doing. It's Leeds football, and Rowan, as you say, is from that coaching tree, if you like, from the Smiths that like to do that and express yourselves. And I've been part of it, you've been part of it, and it's a great way to play and can be very rewarding.
I'm really pleased for some young blokes as well that are coming back through. And I mentioned in particular Tommy Allroyd got Coaches Award. I think Rowan's been really impressed with him. Torrid here last year with injury, but he's firing himself out of a cannon, isn't he? He looks really powerful and he's getting a bit of joy as well. Yeah,
and he's been there or thereabouts for a little while, and he's been in and out. He's never really had a consistent run on the side, and I think with Rowan there, I think he'll get that chance. He looks really fit. He looks like he's ready to push, and he's sort of like the young Mikolaj Ledsky. Yep. He's ready to go and step into that piece, and Mike is going to be there for a long time to come, but he's another one. He's pushing through, and he's on that conveyor belt, and came through the academy system. I remember watching him, a big kid, but he's got himself fit, and he's a Super League player already, and they just need him out there week in, week out, and I'm sure he wants to and can keep getting those Coaches Awards.
Sammy Walters is a player that I've been working with the last few years in my coaching role, trying to bring him on, being a bit of a mentor, bit of a contentious moment there, where we're all thinking, is that a shoulder charge? Is he going to go to bin? Is he going to get penalised at a real critical moment? And I'll be honest with you, I was surprised when he's turned around and given us the penalty. Like, wow. And I'll be honest with you, I thought it was fine. I hadn't seen it back and listened to the commentary or any sort of rationale around the decision. But what were your thoughts on Sam Walters in particular, where he's going in that moment in game?
Yeah, another one. He's a young fella that's come through, and he's probably, what's he been here, 3 or 4 years now, and he's growing into a Leeds player, and he fits the mould of what this team wants, and he's just finding his feet as far as what the coach wants. And again, he'll be a consistent player, and off the bench when he comes off, he's fantastic. But you don't know with those rulings.
Yeah.
It's we're still a bit grey with some of the shoulder charges and the late hits. And last year they brought in, flexion and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, fortunate for Leeds, they got the penalty and a bit of momentum then.
Cam Smith, I think 53 tackles, 118 metres. He's been good for a number of weeks now. A lot of ball distribution goes through him. He's churning up a lot of work. He's really growing into that number 13 shirt. I mentioned him last week, but he's been excellent as well, hasn't he?
He's a footballer.
Yeah.
He's a footballer. Both him and his brother Danny, a very similar mould of players. And whilst they're big physically, they're very skillful, and they've probably made a name for themselves in Cameron especially. He slots into that 6 role when needed, and he can play, he can kick. But what he's shown now is he's ready to roll his sleeves up and do the graft and do the gritty stuff as well. And that's enormous work rate, 53 tackles, and got a great try for the side. And if he can get that mixture of playing that middle heavy role and be the tractor that goes up the field and does the hard stuff, as well as being able to mix it up with that football, won't be far off getting another James Graham. I think that's a big call, I know, but such is the talent of the kid.
No, I think it's great. It's a great shout. I thought Enan Caesar and Blake Austin were very, very good as well. Let's talk a little bit about you going on, Willie. Somebody down under back in New Zealand is going to benefit from your discipleship. I'm sure you was one of those players that had all the skills, all the ability to bump, offload to play as well. He had all the vision. There's some great pedagogy, some teaching coming back down to New Zealand. But tell us a little bit about your plans when you go back home. What's the first cab off at rank for you?
We're going to call into Australia and see my in-laws. That's the first cab. And whilst we're in Brisbane, as I said, I've got some meetings organised. I've got some people to catch up with. And I'd love to stay in coaching. And when I get back to Auckland eventually, I've got a couple of roles. My brother-in-law coaches our local team. And it's his first year in charge of the team. And he's got a very young side, by all accounts. And I'm going to go back and give him a hand and help him out. I'm going to do a little bit with my school. School rugby is big, it's massive, and my cousin coaches the team, so I'm going to go back and help them as well. So I'll keep my hands in there. I've done the radio bit for quite a while now, Jonesy, over here. Since I played, actually, and I've continued to do it throughout. even while I was coaching, and I got to do a bit of the TV stuff like yourself, and I loved it. I'm pretty ambitious and to pursue some of that when I get home.
Yeah.
I've spoken to a couple of people about opportunities to get into the broadcasting and do some commentary and call the game. I love talking the game.
Sure.
I love helping people that watch the game get an explanation of why people do stuff, why things happen in the game, and the causes and effect of structures and plays, and try and give people outside of our knowledge of the game some of that awareness of why things are going on. So I'd like to be able to do some of that as a job and get into some of that when I get home, but we'll see what leads and what lies ahead for us.
A great wealth of experience that you're going to take back, obviously with opportunities that we've all had from Rugby League. I think you came over with the intention of staying for 2 years, ended up 25, started off at Hunslet. It's crazy when you reflect on that time over here. What are some of your highlights?
The biggest highlight, James, is the friendships that I'll take forever. Yourself and everybody that we played with. We played in such a special group at a special time, and probably special as well because we had promised to start with. I know when we first came, the grand finals had eluded the club for 30 odd years, and we were chasing it, and the perennial underachievers was what the club was known as. So to be part of the group that sort of kicked on and helped start what no one could ever imagine would follow. The group is still as tight as ever. Most of us have hung the boots up and we've moved on to different phases of life, and we still stay in contact in our message groups, and when we come for the ex-players groups, we all love, when I was working at the various clubs and still coming to Leeds and bumping into yourself and seeing Kev and see Danny Maggs at Hull KR, it's like time has never left us. So those things, the relationships and the people, the memories that I have will always live with me. They're the greatest things that I'll ever take back, along with what this place has given to my kids and my family. I'm forever grateful for the life that we've been able to live, and the life and the friendships that my kids have been able to create. And I say we go home leaving them behind, but I go home safe in the knowledge that they're in good hands. They've got a good circle of friendship and friends, and we know people that will look out for them, and I'm forever grateful for that. And on the football side of it, obviously the grand finals and the World Club Challenges and the big nights and those things, the medals sit in the drawer, and I know that I can pull them out and reflect and reminisce every now and again, and I still do sometimes.
Me too. It's brilliant to look back at a ring, at a medal, a certain moment in time. It's like uncorking a vintage bottle of wine, but I totally agree. It's all about the relationships and the people that you go on those journeys with. Talking about ex-players and storytelling, on the 3rd of April, we've got an amazing night here at Headingley in the Howard Suite. It's going to be the 10s night, Willie. We're going to invite some number 10s from back over the years. We've got Jamie Peacock, we've got Barry McDermott, we've got Danica Prim as well, who's been doing some great work on Channel 4 with punditry, and the Bionic Barrel as well, the Lance Todd Trophy winner back in 1977, Stevie Pitchford. That's going to be an amazing event. Get yourself down. Look at the description below for the link of how to book that and get a little bit more in terms of details for that event. Hope to see you there. That'll be outstanding. You've been doing some work with Rugby League Cares as well, Willie. Giving back. I think we all finished with a great debt of gratitude. I did for sure. We want to give back. Just tell us about some of the work you've been doing with them.
Yeah, for sure. I had a conversation with Francis Cummins probably pre-Christmas, just about Francis Stevenson, just about the game and overseas players and how they transition and how they settle. And his question was, are they, as Rugby League Cares and as leaders of that side of the game, I suppose, are they doing enough to help educate players to some of the intricacies of settling over here? We sign an overseas player, we give them a contract, and they look at the financial side of it and there might be a house, there may be a car, but there's some things that are very different to what happens back in Australia or in New Zealand. And I found that out myself 25 years ago, that the tax system is very different. The council tax is different. You have to insure your car, which is different. TV licenses that you don't have to pay for at home. So there's players coming across that are very unaware, like I was. My thing was 25 years down the track, there's still players being caught out by this. You know, is there an avenue that we need to teach and prevent this from happening again? So I've just been around on behalf of Rugby League Cares to all the overseas players, and every club sat down, found out what their feedback was, and sure enough, there's a lot of people falling into some of these traps because they're not being educated and not aware, and it's not solely down to the clubs. Rightly so, Rugby League Cares understands that there's a responsibility for somebody to get in there and teach the players and teach the agents about some of the trappings and some of the responsibilities that you have living over here. And because I've done both, and you know, I've probably sit in a position where I can help and do some of that.
So what you're saying then essentially is that you've been here 25 years and you've never paid your TV licence. That's what you're talking.
Well, it's funny.
Maybe that's why he's running.
No, I wish. I remember the days, Jones, and I told some of the boys about when the vans used to come around and check every houses, and then had a bit of a scanner. We've gone past those days, but guys didn't realise, they don't know what a TV licence is. They don't even, a lot of them didn't know about having to change their driver's licence and how they do that. And it's not their fault. You don't know what you don't know. But they need to find this out. They need to be armed with some of this. And there's a whole lot of things. Getting a GP, schooling for their children, all those sorts of things that, you know, if we can put something together and present it to the next crop of players that are coming across, hopefully they're a lot more prepared to come over. In doing so, they're a lot more settled when they arrived, which in turn helps them when they perform. So the clubs win and the game as a whole wins.
Looking forward to this week. We've got Wakefield. It's a team that you know very well. You played at Wakefield, coached at Wakefield, and if I remember correctly, you was mayor of Wakefield for a little while as well. We used to joke, but Wakefield Trinity, who've not had a great start to the season, they've not scored a try in the last 2 games, but they're going to be dangerous coming here. We can't take them for granted. Nobody expected us to get a win last week. Tom Halliwell sat there and said, let's go to Saints and spoil the party. Well, Wakefield will be coming here to try and knock us off as well. What do you expect Wakefield to bring this week, and how are they going to get over this challenge of not scoring tries?
Well, they were much improved last week against a Giants side that were very, very hungry and desperate to get their first win. And I thought defensively last week Wakefield were a different team to what they put out and how they performed against Wigan the week before that when they lost 60-0. Attacking wise, they're struggling a little bit. It is tough, Jonesy, for them at the moment, and they're looking for their first win of the season. Coming down here, I know as a Wakefield player and a former coach, there's no better place. You're almost coming to Big Brother's house, and you want to take the 2 points away from them, but it'll be very difficult. As you said, Leeds confident after their performance last week. They're on a trajectory where their performances are improving as well. It'll be very tough for Wakefield, but they're starting to click. Defensively, as I said, outstanding, great effort, physicality from them, a lot better. It's the attacking side. They've got to start ticking that scoreboard over.
Lino, Gaskell, big threats when they've got the ball in hand and things are going their way. As you said, to keep Huddersfield to 8 points is a fair old achievement. So it looks like they're getting that defence sorted out. You just said that. Who are some of the individuals that we need to keep an eye out, do you reckon, this week?
I thought Liam Hood and Geordie Crowther were great additions. They hadn't played a game yet. They'd been injured through pre-season, and I thought their introduction back into the team was important, and they performed really well. I thought Liam Hood especially set a real standard early on in the game for how they were going to defend in the game. They've got to get some of that synergy back between Gaskell, Leno and Hood, and they've got to try and settle on it. It's difficult because Max Showett's out for a while now, and finding that fullback, and Liam Kay started the game at fullback for them on the weekend and performed to the point where he probably play there again. And then they've got a big week to try and create that synergy. We all understand the importance of the spine and how they direct and get the team around and get them to the places to orchestrate some of those scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
So those four, as you mentioned, those two, they'll be very important. Liam Hood especially playing his eyes up from dummy half and seeing where they go and try and spot any opportunity that possibly Leeds present to them.
Gaskell, Leno, Hood, that could be the Trinity in Wakefield Trinity. Can't wait to get you all back down to Headingley Stadium. Great following, and a big thanks to those who went over to St Helens. You made a big difference as the game went on there, and we stayed in the contest and got the win. I'm looking forward to seeing you back here at Headingley this week against Wakefield. There's loads going on as well. We're back at Headingley on Fridays. We take on Wakefield Trinity. There's a whole host of entertainment planned to keep you entertained from the gates opening to well past the final hooter. There'll be balloon modellers, face painters and Ronnie the Rhino causing his usual mayhem roaming around the ground. We've got live music in the South Stand concourse along with player interviews hosted by Rich Williams and Matt Horton. If you like a bargain, get in early and save 50% on all draft pints up until 6 p.m. We've also got our new self-service e-bars which will be located in front of the Headingley Lodge and near the Western Terrace. On pitch, we've got player interviews, pyrotechnics and a DJ set ahead of kick-off. And remember, the South Stand bar will remain open post-match with a player interview on the podium straight after the final hooter, whilst gold members can make their way up to the long bar. We're back in the long bar for Jones's post-match interviews and the chance to meet the team. Big thanks for joining us again in Box 2. Big thanks to our guest, Willie Poching. Can't wait to see you on Friday. Get down there, have a great week. See you then. God bless.